Welcome to the Just Us Express. My name is Just Us, and today we have Corbin Waltering on the podcast. Welcome. How are you doing today, sir?
I am doing pretty good.
You reached out to me through Facebook because I sent you a friend request. We were talking about that a few minutes ago, and I saw and we were kind of chatting about the fact that you met First to 11, which is a cover band. They have a little over 2 million followers collectively between their platforms. So how did that come to be? How did you meet First to 11?
I met First to 11 in Chicago on April 21st of this year.
Really?
The fact of the matter is I went up there in Chicago because they were at the Cobra Lounge, and even the Gins are playing there in September. But right now I saw them, and I asked them. I started meeting up with them and started talking to them. Even Sam, the drummer, became my my guitar teacher for $100 a month at one point. But yeah, I got to know him very well. Seems like I even went as far as asking him, asking Ryan, which is the guitarist now. I asked him if I could be able to join in with his band. I actually had the audacity to actually ask him because not very many people do that. Like he kind of gave me that look. I looked at him very confidently, and then his whole demeanor changed. And he's like, "It's not fun." I was like, "I'm well aware. I'm well aware. I know it's not fun, but I'm still committed." Seeing them in person, it was fantastic. I mean, they think that for their tour, through that whole time, through that whole year, that was the one that they've mentioned. They mentioned it even on live. They were like, "This is Chicago all over again." Chicago was obviously one of their best performances that they've ever had. They even took one of my clips off of TikTok and put it into one of their videos from one of the concerts.
Yeah.
They took a little small clip, but I noticed it was mine. I was like, "That's mine right there."
That's really interesting. That's really cool. So I mentioned that they have 2 million followers between all their social media. So did you feel comfortable approaching them, or were you nervous?
At first, I was a little nervous, and then I was like, "I'm gonna give this a shot." Because I did talk to Ryan a little bit before, because I joined into their group. I think it was before April. I think I joined into their group. I think it was May or maybe February. I don't remember. I think it might have been in May or February. It's been. I know I joined in. I think at least 3 months before.
Okay.
I joined into their Facebook group before I met them. At least 2 to 3 months before then.
How would you describe the members of First to 11 as people? Like, aside from their profession, aside from them musically, like, because you met them, I saw you had some pictures with them. Like, how would you describe them just as people?
As people, they're very kind, extremely kind. They're very sweet. I'd say, I know this is just my understanding, my opinion. They're very kind. They're very understanding, very respectful. They're extremely professional, within their own music, within the music industry itself. But overall, as people, they are very, very nice, very kind and sweet and respectful. I was actually shocked to be able to actually just to be able to see them in person, because I mean, Audra, the lead singer, beautiful as she can be. I have to say that right now. She is beautiful. I mean, I get a little flustered sometimes talking about it, but it's one of those things. It was an interesting experience. I never thought I would ever get a chance to really meet somebody like that. In my entire life, I never would have thought I would ever get a chance to meet somebody like those guys. To me, like, there was somebody that I looked up to, and there's still people that I look up to this day. I was very shocked to be able to see that for the first time, and I'm also going to be seeing them again.
Oh, awesome.
Since I can go again, Ryan says he would remember my face, and I was very distinctive. I wanted to make sure that I was open with them. I wanted to make sure I was very distinctive and understood, understanding, one another. and they loved me. You know, I can tell you right now, they definitely loved me. I can understand how hard it is to do music. I can understand how hard you have to do so much. It is extremely difficult, but it can be achieved. In the words of Kurt Cobain, keep practicing, keep doing what you want to do in your life.
Very true.
You know, from my perspective on how difficult it can be, because I've traveled across the country, I've seen some things. And yeah, it can be very difficult. It can be very hard, but don't give up. Whatever you do, do not give up. That's one thing that I can tell you as a person that has been through the music industry and has an understanding of how it works. And I'm under the independent music industry, so it's even tougher for even me.
I want to keep talking about that when we come back, but for right now, we're going to take a brief ad intermission, and when we come back, we're going to keep talking about that. Okay, Corbin?
Yes, thank you.
My name is Ken LaBarbera, and this is Interesting People.
Today, we have Corbin Waltering on the podcast. Welcome. How are you doing today, sir?
There was a lot of controversy upon what my beliefs were.
We would have had a civil war.
Wow, so you think that he's that intrinsic to the political landscape?
Yes.
Do you believe that everyone should have a gun?
No, I do not.
Okay, why?
You can see the tires, and you know that you're 3 or 4 feet away from just being killed.
Did a lot of hallucinogenics.
What are your thoughts on the attempted assassination of Donald Trump?
I don't put anything beyond to people who are against Donald Trump.
You never ever put your finger on that trigger unless you're ready to shoot and you know what you're shooting at.
It's never not a surprise when you see a public figure get shot.
Do you think that we are desensitized?
I think our generation for sure is definitely desensitized to basically everything.
I want to take you on a little bit of a rabbit trail here.
I don't like a lot of the things that are happening in society.
How else would you describe going down the rabbit hole?
Right? One pull of the trigger and someone could die.
Welcome back. How did you enjoy your break?
It was great. I was actually listening to Nirvana Unplugged from '93.
That's awesome. We have a lot of our guests like to listen to music on the break. You'd be surprised. It's actually super, super common. So I want to take you on a little bit of a rabbit trail here. At first, it's not going to make sense, but when I ask my question, it will make sense. So just bear with me here. I have here, I don't know how well you can see this, but I have here 4 pictures, first to 11. I think you can at least kind of make out who's who there. So we're going to kind of go through one by one. I want you to tell me their names, okay? So we got the number one, the blonde young lady. What's her name?
Her name is Audra Miller.
Audra Miller, okay. And I hope that I'm spelling that right. Okay. And then we have the second one, the woman with the red hair. What's her name?
Her name, if I remember right, I think it was Brittany Seringer.
So Brittany. All right, Brittany. Okay, and then we have.
Could be wrong. It's been a minute, so I have to go look. If I have to, I'll go look back. But I'm pretty sure it's Brittany.
It's all good. And then we have this guy with the curly hair. Okay, what's his name?
That is Sam.
Sam. Okay. Last one kind of has the longer, like black hair. What's his name?
That's Ryan.
That's Ryan? Okay, that would be the one that you got lessons from?
No, Sam is the one I got lessons from.
Sam is the one you got lessons from. Okay, so now that
Ryan is the one that he's the one that kind of controls the whole Shazam, pretty much. He's the one that kind of controls the band, pretty much. He's kind of the leader of the band.
Band leader, sort of. Okay, makes sense. So I was looking at these pictures personally, and, it's Audrey, right?
Audra.
Wait, Audra. Wait, spell that.
Audra.
Audra. Wow, that's a cool name. That's a pretty cool name. I wonder what that means. So you got Audra here. All right. She's clearly very happy, just kind of radiating joy in this photograph. Okay. You got You got Brittany over here. Brittany's throwing up a peace sign, so she's chill, she's cool, she's passing the vibe check. Sam is at least smiling. You can maybe see a little bit of pain in his eyes, but don't all men have pain in their eyes? But then you get to Ryan, and Ryan just looks miserable. I mean, is it just me, or does this guy just look freaking unhappy, or what's going on? So did you feel that he was unhappy? What was going on there?
Well, when you're on tour, okay, this is how I understand it. If you're on tour and you're is right at the last minute, okay, you're like only got another week to go. You're tired. You're gonna feel miserable. You're gonna feel tired. I can understand why. Okay, I can get it. I can understand.
I will take that as a solid answer. I was just wondering what was going on in that photo. If he like was mad at you or something. Maybe you were like trying to like.
No, I don't think he was mad at me. I think it was because he was just tired. He was exhausted. I understand. You know, I can get it. You know, it's just one of those things that that a lot of people have to go through. You know, it's not an easy job. Far from it. It's not an easy job.
You're absolutely right. So we'll jump in here with another question. You said in our last session that you kind of knew a little bit about the difficulties of the music industry, more specifically the independent music industry. So, like, how do you know about that? What's kind of a brief summary of your experience?
My experience with the independent music industry, because like how I do it is like, I do it a bit differently. I do karaoke for right now because I'm purely a vocalist. So I only do karaoke. The understanding of it is, well, you pretty much start from scratch. Complete scratch. Okay? You start being able to figure out how the algorithm works, how to get it set up, how many hours you have to put into it, just to be able to succeed on what you need to do as a person. Now, with me in particular, I can be able to kind of pick and choose when I want to do it and how I want to do it. Right now, I'm kind of just starting to settle back in Idaho. So I'm kind of trying to get used to things, and then I'll be back out and doing it again. But I probably might be thinking about going to Muggsy's or something, or going down to Sandpoint or whatever,
Okay.
I mean, I also have my own single right now, but I have to buy the audio for it, which won't be a problem in the later future. So
okay.
After that I buy it, I should be able to do much more with it. So then I'll be able to have my own official, song. Because I do write my own songs. It's just there's a process. If you don't have your guitar with you, or if you can't be able to really play, you have to, take other people's resources, look at what other people have to offer, try to be able to make out what you need to, get done.
Yeah.
It's not very, it's not very easy.
Nope, it isn't. It is not.
It can get a little fun sometimes, especially when you're getting into the creative part of it. And it can get a little fun sometimes, but there's also the difficulties to be able to really put in the effort that needs to be put in. You have to put in your whole heart, or don't do it at all. How I think of it is, don't think of it as a hobby. Don't think of it as as something that just to keep yourself entertained. Don't think of it like that. Think of it as a job. As long as you think of it as a job, you can succeed.
You're absolutely right. That's actually a great note for us to leave off. So we can go ahead and take another quick intermission, and we'll come back. We'll ask a few more questions, and we'll wrap up. Thank you so much. I love what you just had to say.
Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to the comment room.
Ended up working for a Christian school, driving a bus in basically downtown Chicago. That's a hard one to say what's the most memorable for me. I remember opening the door to let a kid off. I was in full stop, had the stop signs on, the flashers, everything was on. Opening the door to let this kid out, and it was a one-way road, but apparently there was just enough room on the right side of me for a vehicle to squeeze through there. And this kid was stepping off of the bus, and a cop car just cut right around me. Didn't have his flashers blinders on. It wasn't an emergency, but just cut right past the bus, and I literally had to grab the kid's backpack and pull him back into the bus. Otherwise, he would have gotten hit by a cop car that was illegally passing me in full bus stop mode.
Laws are for peasants, not politicians or law enforcement agencies and officials. And then someone else responded to them saying, especially because fines for most crimes are a set price. So if you're rich, you can do anything that gets you a fine, whereas if you're poor and get a fine, it could put you on the streets. And this is actually, well, there's actually a lot of truth to this. This is actually something that is kind of a problem, especially in our country, America, where people with money can, well, they can basically do whatever they want. And if they're smart, then they can get away with whatever they want because they have the money to be able to provide for themselves the means to do the things that they want to do. So this is actually a very good comment. It actually outlines kind of a problem that we are experiencing in our society today, where the rich are able to get away with things that the poor definitely can't get away with because they simply just don't have the money. And it all comes down to the money, and that's really rather devious. It's not a good thing for people. Another person said, if that cop would have hit that child, you know they would have spun that to be your fault. You saved your own life. Fun story about that comment. Believe it or not, the person in that interview is my dad, and when I was talking to him on the phone, telling him about some of the comments, I ran that comment by him, and he laughed and he said, yeah, that's very true. You know, they definitely would have spun that to be my fault. So yeah, he agrees with you on that one. Another one says, I hope he reported the police car. No, he was not able to do that. He was not able to report the police car, unfortunately. I did ask him about that, but he wasn't able to do that. He did, however, tell me a story that another bus driver that he knew who worked with him at that same school actually had the exact same thing happen. Not the exact same thing happen, but basically a child was getting off and a cop cut around and almost ran over the child, and the man had to pull the child back into the bus. So apparently this is something that happens a lot in Chicago. I had more than a few close calls like that in the 20 years I drove buses for the local high school. That comment literally is a perfect example of what I was just saying. Another person says, typical cop bullshit. Another person goes, so sad, most cops think they are above the law. The worst part is, in a lot of places, they actually are. So, oh my gosh. I just realized that this is a really long comment. But I'm committed. Small towns are the absolute worst for this. The entire system is all in together and they support each other no matter if they are wrong. We need good people to come in and stand up for what is right. Unfortunately, good people don't last in their world. They get pushed out by the unjust and corrupted system. In my current small town, they will even openly admit to just that in open court because you're not allowed to film or record. You can't even take your phone into the courthouse. An entire courtroom sat in awe while watching an officer blatantly lie on the stand as the judge and everyone else there is just nodding in agreement with her. They didn't even let the man in question defend himself. He wasn't allowed to speak at all. They don't let anyone speak on their own behalf in court and automatically take the word of said officers as pure facts. They do it every day. They arrest people for minor traffic violations. They strip search elderly women on the side of the road, settled a lawsuit for that. They accepted sexual favors for phone calls, cigarettes, etc. And they even kill people, and the video evidence just disappears with no additional questions asked. State does investigation and takes their word for everything. Some workers know the truth but won't speak up in fear of the repercussions. Ultimately, they have free reign to do whatever they want with no consequences. We, as a whole, have to be on the same page and vote these people out until we eventually get to a better place. It will take a long time if it even happens because the next candidate can say what they want, but as soon as elected, turn around and continue the abuse of power and of the system. What a sad world we live in. I'm sorry for anyone who has endured abuse from our justice system. Sorry so long. That's totally fine. I thought it was a great comment. Someone else said, or maybe some wise-ass kid stole a cop cruiser. I know. You're all thinking, what? Kids stealing police cars? In Chicago? No way. No. Unlikely, I know. But it's possible it could happen, even in Chicago, as hard as that is to believe. Someone else said, to be fair, it was downtown Chicago. The cop car was probably stolen. CPD for you. Do they not pull to the curb in the city of Chicago or what? I'm a bus driver in the suburbs of Chicago and we have to pull to the curb on the right where the door opens. Old boy's favorite Venezuelan fried street chicken was closing early. They were running out of fresh kill. Okay, you know what? I'm glad that's the last comment because we're going to be done and we're going to get back to our interview with Corbin Waltering. We are back. Welcome back. How are you doing, sir?
Doing great.
Doing great. Awesome. So, quick question. Have you met any other famous people?
No, not really. I mean, I have actually did get a hold of Anthony Vincent, the 10-second what is he called again? 10-second songs. He goes through 10-second songs and stuff.
Huh.
He kind of like takes different styles of music. Like he can take Soundgarden, right? And then and put like a specific song from Soundgarden and put in the style of Korn. Or he can take, you know, Nirvana and put it in the same style as Alice in Chains. He can do pretty much anything with music. It's really cool.
Huh, that's awesome.
And I was working with him for a little bit, but you know, since I've moved and everything, I kind of have to put everything up on hiatus until I can get settled down a bit.
So, how long have you lived in Boundary County, and what's your favorite part about living here?
Well, I've lived here for 22 years, starting to go back up into doing it for another 23, and almost 23, pretty much. But the one thing I like about Boundary County is the mountains. Absolutely, just the mountains. They call it the woods. I mean, I grew up around the woods. I lived out in the country, you know. I mean, there's many different things I like about it, but at the same time, it's just, you know, if you're trying to be able to do music, you can't really start here. You have to start, you know, in other places and stuff like that.
You at least have to go out and diversify a little.
Yeah, and that's why I really want to go over to Seattle, you know, and really start over there.
What's in Seattle?
Oh, that's basically the tree of grunge. That's where it's at. It's the big tree of grunge.
I've never heard of that. What do you mean by that?
It's like you know how New York is the Big Apple, right? Yes. It's the Big Apple. That's what Seattle is to the grunge culture, the grunge industry, the grunge music industry, the culture itself, everything.
Huh.
It's where it really started. It's where everything kind of intertwines and then kind of, you know, expanded out across the country. That's where the capital of grunge is what I'm saying.
That's really interesting. I did not know about that at all. So we'll take a little brief detour from that topic. I want to ask a question because I've kind of been asking everyone this question that I've interviewed lately ever since it happened. What are your thoughts on the attempted assassination of Donald Trump?
Well, I actually have been keeping somewhat of an update on it, but what my understanding is when it comes down to Trump, I'd vote for him. I mean, I'd vote for him hands down. I would. When it comes down to the assassination, though, that was more of a reason for me to vote for him again. And I think that if he didn't move his head at all, we would have been in a situation where the country would have collapsed.
Wow. So you think that he's that intrinsic to the political landscape?
Yes. I think that we would have had a civil war.
Do you think that other people feel that way?
There's a few people in the South probably would agree with me on that. Yeah. And probably here in the Northwest as well.
Well, we'll go ahead and detour from that subject a little bit. We don't want to get too political on here, but
no. Yeah.
If we have you on another podcast in the future, we'll get a little more political and we'll talk about that some more. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any of my questions here before I move on. Make sure I'm getting everything. So You talk a lot about really wanting to pursue music. So what are you hoping to achieve in your lifetime?
I've been wanting somebody to ask me that question. To answer your question, I want to become the lead singer of Nirvana. Straight up. I really want to take that into consideration. I want to get a hold of Dave Grohl. I want to get a hold of Chris Novoselic. I want to get a hold of Pat Smear. I want to be able to get a hold of every single mother lover out there that knows these people, that actually have an understanding of it. And I wouldn't mind doing that. And it's like, hey, look, this is how I think of it. If Alice in Chains can be able to bring in William Duvall, and William is able to do what he needs to do, and he achieved that and made it to where he's like, hey, I can sound like Lane Staley. I can prove it. And he did prove it, and still is able to achieve even to this day, and still coming out with new albums. Okay, Alice in Chains. Okay, Soundgarden. I think Anthony Vincent would be great. I mean, I think he'd be awesome at if he was offered, if he was straight up offered the opportunity to lead in Soundgarden or even Audio Slave. I talked to him because I talked about it. I said, what would you think if Alice in Chains, or not Alice in Chains, if Soundgarden or Audio Slave got a hold of you and talked to you and said, hey, we wouldn't mind having you in our band? He told me he wouldn't be able to, he wouldn't know how to deal with that pressure. I looked at him and says, I think you could be able to do great at it. I honestly think you would do awesome at it. You have Chris, Chris Cornell's voice. You do. Straight up, you have Chris Cornell's voice. I mean, I can hear it, and it's very distinctive, and I can tell you he has his voice. Not very many people can do that. Not very many people can do Kurt Cobain, but I can. I can say that I can, because I proved it. I even showed that to Audra. I've shown that to Sam. I've shown that to all the rest of the band. I have shown that. Oh, by the way, it's not Brittany, it's Brooke.
It's Brooke. You lied to me.
Took me a second. It came back to me, and I'm like, it's Brooke.
I should have done my research beforehand. It is my fault, really. I take full responsibility. So we'll use that to transition into our last and final question. We have a couple of minutes left here, not very long. Very important one. If the entire world stopped what they're doing right now to listen to you, what would you say?
Well, if the whole world stopped and they looked at me what I'd say? Well, wake up and smell the hummus and look around you instead of looking at me.
That's so promptly said. I love it. That's very, very apt. It's very, very, I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for here? It's adamant for sure. It's adamant, but it's not drawn out, and I guess that's good. Well, look, thank you so much, Corbin, for coming on to the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time. Do you have any social media or anything like that you want people to be able to follow you on?
Absolutely. I have Cowboy Cobain on TikTok, Cowboy Corbin on YouTube, and you can also follow me on, pretty sure it is Cowboy Cobain or Cowboy Corbin on Instagram.
Alrighty. Well, I definitely recommend that everyone at least go and check out Cowboy Cobain, see some of the stuff that he's up to, make up your mind for yourself, do your own research, your own investigation, and I will see you later, Cowboy Cobain, when we issue a possible further invite for our sister podcast, Allcast. So I'll see you then, and I wish our audience the best of day.
Yep, me too. Well, have a wonderful day.